Okay. Hello to everybody. My name is Gerhard Voelkl, and I will tell you in the next 45 minutes something about making mobile phone games with Blender. So, okay, it works. First, a little quiz, a question to everyone. Which game is the world's most played electronic game? Another tries. Sims, Tetris, and so on. Perhaps. But there was an article in The Guardian 4 years ago, and it says it took Nintendo 10 years to sell 100 million Game Boys, but whereas Nokia and other companies sold 128 million handsets last year alone. And so I think they're on the right side, and this game or other mobile phone games are played very often because you have the mobile phone always with you nowadays. And so one day I say, okay, Snake is not the world, and I think I have to do something on my own. I have to do own mobile phone game. And if you want to make a mobile phone game, you have to make first one decision. Do you want to use C++ or do you want to use Java? Well, there are many positive things about C++, and it's very fast and so on. But on the mobile phone games, there is a standard available, the Java standard, and there are many different devices. And so I say, okay, let's use the standard. And so I started to make mobile phone games, but 2D games are really boring, and so I want to make 3D games. And if you want to do that, you have to use JSR 184. It's a complicated name, but it's the name of an optional Java package which is on the newer mobile phones, and that package is a standard defined by the JSR. It's Council for Java and so on. And if a mobile phone assists it, it's always the same AP. It defines a 3D graph, not only like OpenGL, that you have the basic elements. No, you have a real 3D graph. And it is based on OpenGL, so if you know something about OpenGL, you can use it. And it defines an own 3D file format, but if you try to make models for mobile phones, a byte is really a byte, and you have only 128K or so, and so you can't use formats like XML and so on. And so they defined their own 3D file format. It's a binary format. And if you want to develop him, you need tools. First, a 3D modeler, Blender, I think. Yes, okay. Then you need SDK, something to programming. And for mobile phone games, it's called Wireless Toolkit. It's free. And you need an IDE, an environment where you can program, for example, Eclipse. And you need something where you can test your programs, your games. And there are always, for every mobile phone, is an emulator from the different manufacturers where you can try the games first on your PC or Apple or your desktop before you do it on the mobile phone, because debugging is really hard. You can debug mobile phones too, but it's easier to do it with the emulators. So I started with it, and I think it would be very nice if Blender has an exporter for this ordinary M3G binary format. But at this time, it was January this year, there didn't exist anyone, and so I thought I have to learn a little bit Python, and I started to write this exporter. So at the moment there exists a version 0.3. You can export meshes, you can export some materials, and soon you can export some UV textures, and so you can use Blender with all the functionality that exists, and this M3G plugin exporter to export your models to a file format which can be read by this API in a mobile phone. And this exporter, can do different things. He can generate Java programs too, because it was really hard to make a binary exporter. So I did it two ways. You have a switch, you can say, okay, export a Java program which generates my model, and if you turn the switch in the other way, you can say, okay, now generate M3G binary file. And so it's for me easier to work with, and in the meantime some people wrote me per email, and so for that people it's easier to learn M3G, so they can see the Java code and can say, okay, it's a way how it is be done in M3G. You can export it, and then you use your Java IDE, or you can export the M3G file with all the information and can use that in your game. So you have now all in the Java IDE. Let's make it short. You can make your classes and so on, and all your M3G files, and that's all packed into a jar file. So you have all zipped. You have first time it's a binary model, and your programs and the textures and all is zipped in one jar file. And I made a little game, and this game has only 30K. It's all very, very small. And that's one advantage of all these Java things, because you don't have a real big exe with all the libraries and DLLs and so on. You only have to make your own classes, and all the machine and so on is on the mobile phone. And so you can do this jar file to your mobile phone or to your emulator and see how it's gone. Well, M3G, a short overview, very compact binary format. 3D objects are serial spliced into files, and it's the complete scene graph which is in the file, with animations and so on. It's no standard Java serialization, because it's a little bit too big, too fast, too wide and too slow. So they did their own, and I think it was a good decision. and it can be packed in the file with this jar thing, and you can pack the M3G file too. There exists a packed format of this file format and an unpacked format. So part of the IPE is a loader class, and you don't have to write your own program to display the M3G files which you have generated from Blender. Well, now a little overview over the plugin, the exporter, and I tried to export one complete scene graph which you have in Blender. And it's a real hard task. At the moment you can only export this classes, the camera, the materials, meshes, lamp, IPO, and textures will be the next. But texture is a hard thing too, and so I do only UV textures at the moment, because they are assisted in the IPE too. So, well, I told you the second option in this exporter is to generate a Java source code file, and there you can take parts of this code into your own program or the complete code. So when I started to make this exporter, I think the task that have to be done is like translation. You have one scene graph, and you have to translate this scene graph into another scene graph. And it's like always in translation, something will be lost or something will be misinterpreted. And so I think it's a good picture for this task. I made a class in Python, in Blender Python, M3G translator, and it has a start method which get all the elements of a scene and try to translate the different objects. So, and for every M3G class, it's a class of the Java APE, I made a proxy class in Blender. This class has the same properties like the class in Java. So I can say, okay, I have a camera in Blender, and I make a new M3G camera. And I can generate it, and I can set the attributes I need. And that's all what the translator does. And if I have done all the thing, I make a scene graph. I append the camera to the world. A scene in Blender is a world in M3G. So a closer look. I made two writer classes. And this writer classes tells every proxy class, every M3G class in Python, write yourself. And so every class knows how to be written yourself. The camera knows their attributes and can make the binary attributes and the binary writing, and the camera knows the attributes and can say, okay, if I have to make Java code with that generates a camera, it has to look like so and so. And so every M3G proxy object has three methods. Write Java. It generates the Java code. Then get data, it generates the binary code. And so, the binary thing is really hard, because if one byte is not correct, all is not correct. But it can be done really good with this structure and pack method thing. The other thing you have to know is how long would be this part, how long would be this object, and there exists always the get data length. Well, that's what they exist at the moment, and that's all the plans for the futures. Texture support will come soon. Then bone animation is really a big target, I think, and backface culling is not assisted at the moment, but I think it's not so difficult. The other thing is the parent-child relationship. If you say one object is the child of other objects, then you have to do something with some translations and so on. And I think that will be a hard part too. So, well, someone knows it. That's a Java program. And so looks a Java program on a mobile phone. There exists a little bit different classes. It's only you can have the first look at it. On a phone, if you make a program, it's called midlet, not applet or application or whatsoever. They call it midlet. And so you can extend this midlet, and this has some predefined methods which you can override. And one have to say this all Java things is really very secure for the phone. You can't kill the phone, and that's a little bit better than if you do it really with the machine language. The startup says, okay, I want a canvas. It means I want a display, I want a screen where I can show anything, and this canvas does anything. And now that's a canvas. It's at the first moment very interesting, and it has one method, run. It gets a 3D instance, and you always talk with this 3D instance what you really want. There's a loader class again. You can say, now give me the M3G file I want to see, and then is a game loop, like always if you make games, this while loop, and then you bind the target which you want to display. You make the animation. You say, okay, render it. There are different ways you can do it, but that's the easiest way. You have nothing to do than to say, okay, render it, show me the lights, all the things there are, and then finally you say, okay, release target, and show me the picture you make. And the more picture you have, the nicer it will be. So, that was the theory. Now, I think you know this model, and I can show it on the phone too. It's made in Blender, and it's transformed with the plug-in to the mobile phone. I think it's still hard to see. But it's a safe picture. Can you see it? Yes. Really great. I've made a little game too. I think you know. And I try to show it too. And it's not a picture, it's a game really. But it's not very fast. I think it's 5.75 pictures per second. And this is what the APE by himself, what the APE does. You can do little things like culling, or I heard if you don't clipping off something, it will be going more faster and so on. But that's only if you take the M3G file and display it, you will have 5 or 6 pictures at the moment. Okay. Wow, thank you for your interest. Any questions? Yes?
Did you considering the wiring of the game of the Blender game kit as a specification for the game for the logic in the outside?
Well, it's a great task, I think, because you have to translate. One night, yes, I thought about it, but then I didn't do it because you have to do much things really. At the moment, on mobile phones, it's available only APE or graphics for showing the graph, making a little animation, and that's all. But the real game making, like.
But for example, already the keystrokes that you do, I mean, you can also in game kit you can model the actions that you do that keystroke.
Yes, but you have to translate the object into the mobile phone, and that's hard. And you have to do all the classes you have under the hood in Blender. If doing scratches or the physics and so on, you have to do all of these things in Java. And that's a real great project for many.
Simple things like keyboard configuration. You can easily read the information from the game logic and generate a Java source code for that. So you could start doing.
Yes. The easy things, yes. Yeah. But the real interesting things like physics and so on, the real game engine, you have to run. And there are no classes at the moment and no standardization for mobile phones, and so you have to do it. Any questions?
I was just wondering how much memory you tend to have on the device at the moment.
Well, it differs. So this phone is a newer one. You can use cards, and so you can use 32 MBs and so on, or 64 MBs.
Yeah, so once you get into that somewhere,
But
the games that I've seen around at the moment, they're typically about equivalent to what you used to get on like the Z Spectrum, the old Acorn, going way back. So the memory playing used to be found, it was
it's very difficult. Well,
256K of memory.
Yes,
That was the big
I think so. There are phones with that. But these are only phones which can do 2D.
Yeah.
And the 3D phones, I think they have about 512 or more. It depends on the phone.
Yeah, and another limitation is usually the games should be small downloads. So you can use big pictures
showed you this pink object has about 40 pages. Nothing.
Does using 3D have any effect on battery life on the mobile phone? It has to render all that stuff.
Not so large, but I think it uses very much power on the processor and you use very much of it.
Is there a way in the Java how you say clock it back? I have no idea what it is, but I know that the PHP has one option to say that. Just to help power to spare the battery life.
Yes, you can do that also. Well, it depends on the configuration, but this is always the same.
Once you have the game running on one mobile, can you just transfer it to another mobile, or is it
Well, there are mobile phones which assist this Java and PHP, and so you can do it on everything. This is, well, it's only guaranteed. You can play the same game on a computer or on other vendors. They have to assist this M3P API and say, okay, my mobile phone can Java with API this and that and television and what that's available. And if you write this game once, you can play it on all these phones. And really works. But the difficult thing is the display. Because one phone has a real small display. This is one with a real great display for a mobile phone. And so you can always say one display is that way, the others are that way. And if you make a game, you have to show it with the right camera. That's always the important thing to show. So that it can be displayed on all the systems. But from a technical standpoint, it runs on every mobile phone with this API. That's important. Any questions?
Like key only send the mobile phone. Only send the game to the mobile phone.
Well, that's interesting. There are many ways, like there are many phones. You can flash it over a cable or with ER or with Bluetooth or I think the interesting way is over the internet. I have downloaded, if you do this files on the internet, on a website or so, you can go with this phone to the website and say, okay, download this. And the 40K, it needs, well, I think half a minute. And that always works. I started to make it, and some guys wrote me and said, okay, we want to make the texture support, and we did. Yes. It's here. You can see all the links. You can find the plugin link, and there's a link on the Blender side too.